Hello Aquarius, great to have you here. My name is Shauna. Today's reading is a general love forecast. As always, take the messages that resonate and release anything that doesn't. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay connected with upcoming readings. Let's see what's headed your way, Aquarius. Month, but you guys were watching the Aquarius videos. I think there were like 70,000 views on that video alone. And that's amazing. And I'm so glad that, you're still around watching my videos. I don't know if it's just Aquarian people or just cross-watchers who are viewing my videos. Maybe it's both. So I want to thank you all for, the tremendous amount of views. I hope the reading has been helpful. I hope it resonated with you last month. And I hope that we have the continuation of that energy and that type of enthusiasm for the video that I'm about to share with you for this month. So I really appreciate that. That's amazing. That's like the most amount of views I've ever received in a single video. So thank you so much. First of all, I feel like this is a love reading. All the cards that have fallen out when I was shuffling, they're all here. There's a lot of water energy and a lot of fire. So a lot of passion, a lot of emotions, deep passion being stirred here. And so I feel like this is going to be a love reading. And I saw two images for you. And I feel like the first image deals with the first 6 cards. And then the second image might deal more with the last 4 cards, okay? So let me just talk to you about the first image that I saw. So I see this little bee. He's hovering, near this field of flowers, okay? And he scopes out 2 flowers. 2 of them, they're both tulips. One is like reddish, orangey in color. It's open, and it's on the left side. The other one is purple, like purple and blue. They're both equally beautiful, but the one that's purple and blue, it's a little bit closed off, okay? So they're side by side. One is open, one is closed off, and they're both kind of swaying in the breeze, and the bee is hovering above it. And the bee wants to open or wants to land on the purple and blue one, the one that's less open. And he's trying to dig his way through all the different petals so that he can get to the center, because, bees are pollinators, of course. And so he's burrowing himself in there, and he kind of disappears from underneath the petals. And then like 5 minutes later, he reemerges. And then I feel like what's going through his head was, what am I doing? The other flower is open. It's ready. It's prepared for me. Why am I burrowing my head in this one? Why am I wasting my effort? Why am I digging my way through? It's clearly not ready, or, whatever the situation might be. So then he burrows himself out. Then he flies over to the other tulip, and he, does his thing pollinating or whatever. And then the scene cuts out. Okay. So what I'm seeing right off the bat is I feel like there's something that you're really, really, really pushing for. You want a specific outcome. You have it in your head how it's going to play out. And I feel like once a fixed sign makes up their mind of something they want to do, a course of action, an event, once you plan things, you never renege on your promises. You never back out on your plans. And, that's very admirable, but it also creates a situation where your blinders are on, and you're single-handedly just, trying against all odds to make something happen, because you've already envisioned it in your mind how it's going to come to be. And so I feel like there is a process here of, I don't want to say giving up, because I feel like, giving up for an Aquarius is never an option, right? I feel like it's a little bit more like letting things be, okay? Not fighting against the tides, not being so adamant about controlling a situation, battling it out for a specific outcome just because you've already envisioned in your mind that's the outcome, and you're not making room or making allowances for other outcomes to come into the picture. So the whole process about, readjusting expectations, realigning yourself, going towards something that is ready for you, going towards something that is meant for you, rather than burying yourself into a situation and finding yourself in the dark, finding yourself lost, finding yourself, like that sense of claustrophobia, being in a dark, confined space. It starts to kick in and it gives you guys a lot of anxiety. So I feel like there's a dichotomy here. There's a place of love and abundance and light, okay? That open flower. It's red, it's ready, the time is right. Versus the blue and the purple, and it's closed off, and you have to, burrow yourself in there, and it's not a comfortable feeling. And so I'm seeing here that dichotomy is basically spelling out for you guys. The timing might not be right. It's almost like, yes, in a sense, they're comparable, they're equal things, but one is ready for you and the other one is not. Does that make sense? It doesn't mean that option is off the table. It just means that the time is not right. And when the time is not right, and we're on universal time, right? We're not in a linear human time frame. When the time is not right, no matter how much you push for it, no matter how much you try to unravel it, it's not ready. And it won't be ready until it is the right time. And so I feel like there is a sense of you kind of coming into this realization that it might not be the right time. It might not be the right situation. It doesn't mean it's not going to work. It just means that you kind of have to relinquish your idealized vision of what it could be. You have to relinquish control in a situation, and you kind of have to let it go. Okay? So I'm seeing a situation here, and I definitely feel like this is like a love situation. And I'm sensing, I do feel the energy of two people here, okay? So we have the Tower here, and I wanted to clarify the Tower, so I pulled out two cards. I'm going to talk about them in a little bit. I've already seen what the cards are. I'll talk about them in a little bit because I feel like I want to piece together the story for you. It hasn't been easy, okay? So for Aquarius people, right now, there are a lot of things going through your mind when it comes to your financial foundation. And I feel like for many of you, some of you are kind of like this: Nine of Pentacles, on top of the world, self-sufficient, being able to take care of yourself, having a lot of savings, having a lot of income, having like a steady stream of just, financial abundance, okay? Some of you are self-made. Some of you have dealt with a lot of heartache and you bury yourself in work. You try not to feel the feels, okay? You try not to, let things ruminate in your mind. You try not to let the other person have that power, that control over you. So you bury yourself in work, you bury yourself in hobbies, you immerse yourself in other things. And thank God they're like very productive things for your creative outlet, for your energy. And you try not to ruminate and think about the things and the person that hurt you. And so you definitely were very productive with that time. While you were grieving, you made something out of yourself, okay? And now you're looking back at this legacy that you've created, and you're just like, I am so proud of myself. I can't believe I did all of that while, I was an emotional wreck, while I was a mess. And I feel like you're looking at it, everything that you have created, all your creations, with a sense of like paternal, maternal pride. Okay, it's your love and joy. It's your baby, pretty much. And so I feel like because of that, you turn something that might have been like a heartache situation into something beyond your wildest dreams. And it left an imprint. Okay, you left an imprint on it. and you're very proud of yourself. So you're in a space of financial abundance. While others of you, you are financially linked up with another person. And I feel like there are a lot of worries for you guys when it comes to your financial stability. And funnily enough, I mentioned that, Aquarius is like the most independent sign of the zodiac. You're self-made, you're self-sufficient, you're very, very independent. And I feel like the one sign from the universe, the one sign that you're in the wrong situation is if you are financially entangled with another person and you don't feel independent financially. That's one sure sign that you're in a wrong relationship, because I feel that coming through. I feel a situation that is very entangled with another person. We have the green here, and we have this infinity symbol, and we have the juggling act, and we have a financial foundation here with the tower that is fractured. Okay, it's a situation where financially you're linked up with another person. They're dependent on you, I feel, for certain things in the relationship, but I feel like you are dependent on them for the finances. And I feel like you're starting to see that this is a very, very messy arrangement, and it's really hard to kind of come out of this unscathed. And so you're plotting and you're planning and you're trying to figure out how to separate the assets, how to demarcate, have like a clear separation when it comes to what is yours versus what is the other person. But either way, there is a situation here where the foundation is cracked, where it cannot be rebuilt. Okay, the tower breaks down things that are wobbly, things that are built on faulty grounds, things that have not been well thought out, and things that have not been. It was like castle in the sky. It was like it wasn't stable. It wasn't realistic. It foundationally, it was very, very weak, and more things got built on top of it, even though it had a faulty foundation to begin with. So I feel like there was a situation here where being financially linked up with somebody really interfere with your freedom of movement, really interfere with your free will, and it interfered with your ability to come and go as you please. And you're in this situation where you're plotting and planning how to extract yourself, and it's getting messy. Okay, so that's the first thing. And I feel like, the energies are very extreme. Some of you totally financially independent, and others of you, you're tied into a situation you want to leave, but financially you're not really sure how things are going to go. And I do sense that in due time, it's going to work its way out, because you are already drawing your line in the sand and trying to separate your assets and trying to liquidate and trying to extract yourself. Okay, so I feel like the extraction process or the thoughts of it have already begun, and you are taking actions to move yourself in the right direction or to extricate yourself from this situation, which is great. And then I'm also seeing as well, going back to the Aquarian stubbornness, okay? And I don't mean this in any type of a derogatory way, because I feel like, you won't be you unless you are stubborn. Okay, and I feel like, the worst thing you can tell an Aquarius is like, no, don't do that. Like, infringe upon their free will and tell them what to do and boss an Aquarius around and tell them, these are things you're supposed to do and these are things you're not supposed to do. Like, tell them how to behave, correct their behavior or things like that, because those things can backfire. But what I feel coming through is, you're coming into this month, you're keeping your impulses and you're keeping yourself in check. You're realizing in the past instances where your impulses have gotten you in trouble, or have inadvertently come out in a way where it isolates you from other people, where it it created like a rift between you and another person because of this impulse to want to rebel, to want to, stubbornly do something, even though you know it wasn't good for you. It's like testing the water, okay? It's like a child touching a tea kettle and knowing that it's hot, but, wanting to experience it for himself, how hot it is. Okay, so it's that situation where I feel a little bit like, playing with fire, pushing buttons, wanting to get to that limit, wanting to see like what makes the other person tick. And, I feel like you're in the process of learning that when enough's enough and when not to, overexert yourself or waste your energy, or, when you're supposed to stop pushing for a specific outcome because something is not meant for you. Okay, so I feel like there's a situation here where it's a lot about self-awareness. It's about, maturing, understanding yourself, understanding that, this is my chill out card, okay? This is somebody who is in a state of rest and relaxation. This animal is drinking tea, so it's somebody who might be a tea lover, but I feel like it's a situation where you're finding your center, you're finding your zen, you're in a state where you're just going to mellow out. You're not going to worry about things anymore. You're not going to ruminate over things. You have everything you need at your disposal, and you're in a space where you are truly very content and very happy. Okay? On top of that, you're wearing your crown. You're gaining your power back. You're not giving your energy, your resources, and your time to people that don't really matter. Okay? So I feel like this is a month where you are definitely refilling your cup. Okay? All the waters are coming back into this cup. This is kind of like the Ace of Cups in the making. It's the Four of Cups, and usually I don't like this card. It indicates boredom. It indicates like, lack of inspiration and just being in a situation where you're not appreciative of things. But I feel like this is not a good depiction of the card. But the way this is depicted in here, it's the Ace of Cups in the making, replenishing yourself. Okay, so going back to the images. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the second image now. And then I'll talk a little bit more about these clarifiers. So in the second image, I see this woman. She's in her yoga clothes. She's sitting on a yoga mat in the lotus position, and she has been, meditating for quite some time. And her mind is kind of wondering, and she's like, I wonder what that person's doing. And so what I saw was her third eye starts to open up. Okay, and then there's like a string. It's sort of like a cord. It goes from the third eye into like a great distance, and then at the end of it, there's this man. Okay, I can't really make out what he looks like, but I feel like he's wearing a business suit. It looks like a gray suit, and he has like a blue tie. He's in his office, and she's, just checking up on him. And as soon as that cord connects to his third eye, he kind of opens up his eyes, and he was all like, wait a minute, that felt strange. So I feel almost like you're connected to somebody. You have this like really, really strong, very succinct soul connection with another person. And I feel like it is so strong where if you think about them, they think about you. If you wonder what they're doing, they're probably getting, those intuitive nudges that you're thinking about them, and they likewise will wonder what you're up to. So I feel like there's a very strong like connection or pull, or like a very strong soul connection between two people. And so the scene cuts out. And what I was feeling is, I feel like there's a mutual reception here, okay? And what I mean by that is, let me talk about this card, the Tower. So we have here a really big crack in the foundation, okay? And when we look at the Tower, it's a situation where we're losing grip. We're gaining water, or like it's about to collapse into this body of water. We don't see anybody in it or in the Tower in this card, but what it denotes to me is it's a situation where it's things have been fractured. You can't really rebuild from this, okay? You can't salvage it. It is falling into the ocean, or it's falling into this body of water. It's sinking, is going to disappear, and whatever effort we make to kind of subsidize it or bail it out or try to repair it or try to fix it, it's going to be in vain, because at the end of the day, whenever it starts to sink, at the end of that, we're just not going to see it anymore. Okay, so I feel like there's a situation that's it was wobbly. It was very wobbly from the very beginning, and you knew this, Aquarius. You guys are smart. You guys know when a situation is unbalanced. Okay, so I feel like from the very beginning, from its advent, it wasn't the ideal condition. Okay, it wasn't the right thing. It wasn't. It was just never the right thing. From the very beginning, it had faults. It had cracks. It had issues. And here's where I feel like you're dealing with somebody like this, and there's nothing wrong with it. We all have flaws. We all have our baggage. We all have, our conditioning and our behaviors that are not ideal. Okay, you're dealing with somebody that is far from perfect, but you really love this person. You saw all of their flaws. You saw their temper flare-ups. You saw insincerity, I feel like, with the things that they did, with the things that they said. And I feel like you didn't care. You loved this person anyways. Against your better judgment, okay? I feel like you really, really cared about this person. And I feel like from the very beginning, at the beginning of this relationship or this union or this situation, it wasn't ideal. You saw the flaws. You saw that it couldn't have worked out. But I almost feel like you went into it anyways, because that soul connection was very, very strong. You felt it. And there were moments where you were very, very indecisive. We have here the Two of Pentacles. And this is the juggling act. This is sort of like, weighing out the pros and cons, yes or no. Some days you feel like giving up, throwing in the towel and walking the other way and never giving this person the time of day. And then other days you're just like, I just want us to be friends. I just want us to be in each other's lives. So I feel like you were very conflicted, because you knew it was a faulty foundation, but the connection was very strong. And so it felt worthwhile. And I pulled out two cards for the Tower to signify what it meant, okay? And what I have here is the Hermit. And I have the Lovers. So this is the card of Virgo. This is the card of Gemini. So some of you might be dealing with a Virgo or a Gemini. And the Hermit basically indicates to me, the Hermit is about going inside, going within. And I feel like there's a person here who is lacking in self-awareness. There's a person here who's like, they're so used to being on their own, and they're so used to their independence, and they're so used to having things their way and doing, living for themselves and not having to deal with worrying about, caring for, showing affection towards another person, that they didn't exhibit the signs that they were ever going to be a good relationship partner. Does that make sense? So I feel like you're dealing with somebody who puts themselves first. You're dealing with somebody who is, this is a sloth, okay? And I always think of like sloths as like an old man, okay? And this is not meant to be derogatory in any way when it comes to, people in their age, okay? I'm just saying, like, that's just the impression I usually get with a sloth. And this old man is wearing like a hoodie. Okay, so I feel almost like it's somebody who is not acting their biological age, okay? They might be old in years. Biologically, they might be old, but emotionally, they're very, 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 um, they're very immature. And I feel like they live for themselves. I feel like you're dealing with someone who might be a little bit selfish. It's all about me and me and me. And then on the other side, on the flip side, and this might be another person, we have here the lovers. And this is a situation where, I have that third eye, really strong emotional connection. It's like a very strong psychic connection between two people. And I feel like there might be an age difference. There might be a cultural difference because the two seahorses are, different colors. I'm also seeing a situation where the two people, they're joined. There's a soul contract here. They're joined together. They're supposed to learn something from one another. So the lesson, I feel like one person is supposed to learn to be patient and the other person is supposed to learn to reciprocate. It's supposed to learn to, put others before themselves. Okay, so one person is supposed to give the other person the tools in order to better themselves. And unfortunately, I feel like you, Aquarius, are the ones that are supposed to give them the tools, the guidance on how to be a better person. Um, and then I also feel like that's why, in a way, I felt like you were constantly oscillating in and out, like one foot out the door in this relationship, even from the very beginning. You were constantly thinking about, like, oh, it's just so much easier for me to run away from this connection. And then some days you wanted to be in the connection, other days you wanted to be out. It was very confusing. And you know why it's very confusing? Because your soul understands that you have a soul contract with this person. And your soul understands that you're going to get hurt in this relationship. And that's why you're constantly one foot out the door, because you are so afraid of what your soul already knows. Does that make sense? So if you're wondering, why am I feeling this way about this connection? Why am I like, as much as you love them, you can't 100% tolerate or put up with or, feel comfortable committing to this person, is because it's a karmic connection and you intuitively know that it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to be very difficult. And it's up to the other person's free will whether or not they take what you offer, right? It's ultimately up to their free will. And they're in a state of mind where they're working on themselves. They're focused on themselves. They're emotionally stunted. I feel like they're emotionally immature. And I feel like because of it, they have not reached that state of self-awareness to be able to communicate to you how they feel, to be able to be on your level and to catch up to where you are. And your soul intuitively knows this, that it's going to end in a lot of heartache. And that's why you have always been hesitant about investing 100%. That's why from one day to the next, you're constantly waffling, like, am I in or am I out? It's because you understand that it's a challenging relationship. And so despite the feelings, despite, really wanting this relationship, I almost feel like it was too hard, okay? And so I'm sensing there's a situation here where you see this person for who they are, all of their faults, all of their bad traits, all of their, I'm seeing somebody with, like, somebody who has a tantrum, somebody who sulks, somebody when they don't get their way, they like, get angry, somebody who's emotionally immature, and somebody who's like, selfish. And you see all of this, but they also have redeeming qualities. Everyone has their redeeming qualities. And whatever it is that they really dislike about themselves, I feel like you find it endearing, you find it charming, you find it like human. Okay, so like you're understand and you're very understanding and very accepting of this person in all of their faults, in all of their flaws. And I feel in a way, the way you feel about them more than makes up for everything that's lacking in this connection. So I feel in a way your emotional response to this person might have been irrational. Does that make sense? Because I feel like your emotional response, your emotions for this person was the one thing that carried the weight of this relationship. And there was very little emotional reciprocity from their end. And I feel like you were made aware of it. Okay? You were made aware of it. I definitely feel there's a really strong soul connection here. And I feel like, it's two people admiring one another. You admire the other person a lot. You're looking up, and the other person is like really, the other person cares about you. They do care about you. They want you to be okay. They want you to prosper. They want you to be happy. And they don't feel like they have anything left to give you. It's like you're kind of like bringing colors back into their life. Okay? Like that ray of sunshine, or like, the bright pastel thing that stands out in a sea of lifeless. As you are, Aquarius, you don't need anything from anybody. But I feel like in this connection, you want that emotional reciprocity, and they're not in a position to give that to you. Okay? And so that's what I'm seeing here. And I do feel overall there's a lot of regret. There's a lot of like, should have, could have. There's a lot of, it's sort of like with this Tower card and the Nine of Pentacles. I feel like you had no choice but to make yourself single, to free yourself from this connection, and work on yourself to replenish this Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups is the brand new love or the great love, but it's more about self-love, okay? You were very energetically and spiritually and emotionally drained from this connection, and you needed to take some time to replenish yourself. You might have spent, the last 3 weeks, the last 3 months working on yourself, getting yourself to a better space, to the point where you can kind of wave it goodbye and kind of sail off on your own, getting your crown back, not being in a situation where you're head over heels, tumbling. Um, I'm seeing like an otter with a ball on his head, or a seal. I think they're seals with a ball on his nose, like, doing tricks, and then the people giving them, giving the seals fish. So it's like, I'm no longer entertaining this. I'm no longer doing tricks in order to, please the audience, to please that person. I'm no longer engaging in it. I'm putting my crown back on, and, like the queen or the king that I am, and I'm walking away from this situation. So it's like you are waving goodbye, because you're not giving up on anything, Aquarius. I feel like this was a karmic lesson that you and the other person needed to experience, okay? And I feel like the signs have been there all along, that it was a faulty foundation. It was something that was rushed in. It was something that was, it was like your emotional response to this person. You both had a very strong connection, and it's undeniable, and I feel like it's definitely, reciprocated. Okay, it's definitely there. But like, the two flowers, the two tulips, one was open and the other one was not. So no matter how much you try to burrow, no matter how much you try to pry it open, it just won't open. because there's a time and a season for everything. And I feel like the timing for this relationship might not have been the opportune time. Okay. I was talking to the, no, I did the Capricorn reading, and I mentioned with Capricorn, it's Mercury retrograde during this, going to last all month. And Mercury retrograde is a really good time for problem solving, actually. It's also a time where, notoriously, a lot of situations, problems, people from our past start to come back. If they don't come back in physical forms, our thoughts of them, our memories of them will take us back through memory lane. And we're going to feel that sense of nostalgia. We're going to feel that sense of, missing the other person. And I feel like for you guys, it's going to hit you very, very strongly, okay? Because the rest of the time, you're kind of like the ice queen or the ice king, okay? You're constantly on guard. You're constantly like rational. But it's the Mercury retrograde period that will activate more of the emotional side, the suppressed feelings. When you are dealing with this heartache, you bury yourself in work. And you suppressed and repressed it, and it's like deep down in your core, that's where all those emotions go. And unfortunately, Mercury retrograde will stir up those feelings that you thought were gone, you thought you have worked through, you thought you have left behind, you thought you have, that you thought have been thrown away. All of these things are coming back to the surface. And they're coming back to the surface for purging. They're coming back to the surface for releasing and letting go. And they're coming back not because you need to revisit it, because I feel like a lot of Aquarius people believe in signs and synchronicities and believe in, oh, if it's meant to be, it's going to be, you're looking for validation. You're looking for confirmation in your external environment. And I feel like the Mercury retrograde period is kind of like that final test. It's almost like reminding you to remind you how it felt. If you don't like how it felt the first time, you have to let it go. You have to take better care of yourself. You have to honor yourself enough not to put yourself in a situation where the feelings are not reciprocated. Okay? So I'm feeling here there's a tremendous purging and letting go, and letting what is not meant for you to kind of release itself. Okay, so what we have here is the Ten of Wands. This is a bundled, very tightly wound up burden. It's really wound up, and with the green deals with, the financial resources that I'm seeing here. There's a lot on your mind as it relates to finances. Getting out from under a situation, freeing yourself, extracting yourself, letting yourself be free from this financial entanglement with another person. This bundle is greatly tied up with the Tower and the Two of Pentacles and this Lover's card here. This is the card of Gemini here. So I feel like there's a situation where somebody is like of two minds about you. On good days, the connection is very, very good. And on bad days, the connection really is fractured because it's laid on top of a very faulty foundation. Okay? So I feel like all of these, the Ten of Wands, the Tower, the Two of Pentacles, and the Lovers, this green energy, it deals with the same situation and it deals with the same person. And what I'm feeling is you're at a point where you have to kind of like unwind that really tight bouquet of wands. Okay, this is like, it's wound up, it's very, very tight, and it's burdensome. And in this situation, you're releasing, you're freeing, you're untying, you're unraveling, and you're kind of like, I still feel for many of you, you're grappling between two people. The Lovers is about choices. It's also about like a third party entering a situation, a relationship, or like interference in a relationship. Okay, so what I'm sensing here is we have here the Three of Wands, your ship's coming in, the arrival of something. Okay, and it's blue in nature, so this indicates to me a lot more of a spiritual connection, a lot more balance, a lot more. Um, this deals more with like the crown chakra and the higher chakras, which basically is a mental energy, and it's also a spiritual energy, a spiritual connection that is also very delicate. We have here the Temperance card. It's like the Two of Cups, where there's more harmony, whereas there's more tenderness. And I also feel like the connection is also, you know, with this butterfly, it's very delicate. Okay, so for some of you, there might be another connection that is more spiritual in nature, more mental in nature, more reciprocal in nature. So I feel like you're freeing yourself from a situation that has been very conflict driven. Five of Wands, egos. Okay, this is like being at conflict with yourself or dealing with someone who has a lot of like a big ego. Somebody where it's like they get very defensive very easily. And Aquarius, you guys are like the water bearer. You transmit knowledge. Okay, you love to learn, you love to grow through your experiences, and you're like the least defensive sign when it comes to, you know, someone showing you a better way to do things, someone telling you, you know, here's how you can get better, here's what you should improve on, here's what you should do. Like, you're very receptive to constructive criticism and feedback. But you're dealing with someone who's so conflict driven, who is very defensive, who's very closed off. They don't want to learn, they're not open minded. And I feel like the situation was very conflictual because of their behavior. Okay, you thought you were stubborn until you met this person, right? And you thought you were like, you know, fixed in your ways until you met this person. And that's how extreme they are, because I feel like they're almost like this really tight bundle, very wound up tight, with a lot of responsibilities, with a lot of things on their plate. And I almost feel like you were dealing with someone who had to grow up very fast. They definitely neglected their emotional development, you know. And I feel like, to this person's defense, they did have a lot of redeeming quality, but I feel like it was your love that really carried the weight of this relationship, and it left you depleted. Okay, so I'm sensing here that there's a connection where you had to let go, but then also the other person, um, they're easing up, they're loosening up, they're starting to be, they're like approaching you with a lot more reciprocity and a lot more sensitivity. Okay, this butterfly, it's not, it doesn't indicate to me flightiness or someone whose feelings are fleeting. I don't feel that. Not with this card. I feel like it's somebody who is a lot more sensitive, a lot more delicate, a lot more like, you know, walking around on eggshells, trying to test the waters with you, trying to figure out how they can make their way back in. So I definitely feel like somebody is really regretful of a situation and how it came to be and how it transpired. And I feel like they're trying to, you know, plaster up this little fracture in the foundation. You're dealing with someone who is trying to, you know, appease or fix, or trying to um, right a wrong or fix a situation, okay? But the way they go about it is not going to be, you know, in your face, obvious, like, you know, with a tool belt and trying to fix the foundation. Um, on the other hand, I do have a person here. We have the Queen of Cups and the Ten of Cups. And I'm getting the infinity symbol. Okay, so from the Two of Pentacles, we have the green infinity symbol. And now we have a multicolor infinity symbol, which indicates to me completion. It indicates to me, the whole spectrum of the rainbow. Okay. Somebody who's like the yin to your yang, somebody who's very complementary to you. Different but complementary is, those are the words I'm getting. So let me see. Um, I'm hearing as well with the whole fertilization thing. So the bees fertilize, right? So they're fertilizing the flowers. So fertility is really big here with this Ten of Cups. So if you're not expecting, take precautions, or if you're not wanting to get pregnant, take precautions, because I keep hearing like fertilizing and then the whole cycle of life and like continuity is what I'm seeing. Like it's an endless seamless cycle, okay? And it's good because it's multicolored. Whereas in this situation, it was very security oriented. And I feel like it depleted you. But this situation is looking really, really good. And what we have here is the Queen of Cups, which is, getting your crown back, getting your emotional, that apex to your emotional satisfaction. So I feel like there is somebody here who has an outpouring of love for you. Somebody who is tremendously, just your cup of tea, okay? And somebody who gives and gives and gives. Not that the relationship is one-sided, but I feel like they give because they feel safe in the situation with you. And as hurt as you were over this person, I feel like you're no longer starry-eyed, because I feel like there's somebody here that you really, really cared for. And, they had a lot of flaws. Okay, I'm not going to lie. This person has a lot of flaws. But you felt like, it was okay. You overlooked all of these things. Whereas this person, I feel like you felt safe to give of yourself. You feel like even if you give, because of this infinity symbol, even if you give, it comes back tenfold because the other person knows how to reciprocate. And like I said before, Mercury retrograde is notorious for people from the past coming back into the picture. So I feel for many of you, there could potentially be a timing issue where somebody wasn't ready in the past and this situation depleted you. And now they are ready. Now they're in a position where they're okay to lead, to give. Now they're in a position where they want to give, where they want to replenish, where they understand finally everything that you've been through. And I definitely feel there is kind of like recognizing, being cognizant of how this cycle didn't work out in the past. And then we're trying to break this cycle and to create something better as a result of it. So there could potentially be a coming back of a situation where you have a really strong spiritual connection, emotional connection, and just a really strong karmic connection too with another person. For whatever reason, they were not in a position. They're all grayed out, and um, I just feel like they're not in the healthiest or in the best emotional state, and they didn't have anything to give. And you lend them your colors, okay? But they might be in a position where they can replenish you, and they are willing and able to give in this context, okay? So that's what I'm sensing. Let me see. Oh my gosh, it's about 50 minutes already. So let me see if there's anything else. I was taking notes with this deck in particular. This is the first month I'm using them. And a lot of images and messages and words just came out, and especially for the Capricorn reading, so I had to like take notes. Um, I just want to say as well, with the woman who's meditating, and she's like, I wonder what so and so is up to, and then she, looks at it with her third eye. I feel like you want to be a little bit careful about not intruding, not prying, not what is the word, like infringing upon somebody else's privacy. Okay, so I want you to be extra careful about that. Aquarius, air signs in general, are deeply, deeply, deeply curious. Okay, And so if you're dealing with another air sign, they might be spying or prying or trying to figure things out about you. And you likewise, like a closed book or a closed box is very fascinating to you, intriguing to you. So you might want to pry, but just be careful of that tendency, okay? I'm going to leave it at that, Aquarius. I hope this reading has been a reading. I do have a link in the description box below for a colleague. Her name is Bridget. She's based out of California, and she's a psychic, and she's really, really good at her craft. I highly recommend that you get a reading if you are looking for spiritual advice and guidance and so forth, okay? Like a yearly reading for you guys, if time permits, for 2020. I wish you all the best, okay? Take care of yourself. Have a wonderful,